don't start yet. Okay. So we're holding on Daf Testament Beis. We're coming towards the end of Palgin and Dibura. We mentioned the Machlokes Rishonim, the Ravid against all the other Rishonim, how to understand the mechanics of Palgin and Dibura, and the few nafkaminas of Palgin and Dibura based on the different approaches that there is in this sugya. So Shmuel Liefer, last sugya, the next morning, he asked me the following question. If you remember, we said that according to the Ravid's approach, the way Palgin and Dibura works is that it's not really we're ripping apart the words. We're not cutting apart the words, but basically, based on the way we approached it, the way we developed it, was that Shitas Rashi in the Gemara Makis is that a person cannot speak about himself. He's not an aid when it comes to himself. So Shmuel asked me the following question. He said, if you can't speak about yourself and you're not an aid about yourself, and that's the maskona of the Gemara in Makis, Al Pishnayim Eidim Yakum Davar, B'Mekayme Adavar Mekasav Adavar, Rashi explains, V'Loba Ose Adavar, if you're the Balamaisa, if you're a person that's involved in the action, so then it's not that we have to cut away what you're saying about yourself. You're not an aid when it comes to things about personal items. You're the Balamaisa. So when you talk about Ploni, that Ploni was Roveya, we could accept that as aidus. But Ploni Ravani Lertzoni, you can't give Eidus about yourself. You're a Baldover. So the Ravid says it's not Eidus Shabbat Lamiktas Balakula. It's not Eidus that's thrown in the garbage. It's just what's accepted and what's registered as Eidus is Eidus. What's not registered in Eidus is not Eidus. And that's the Kamash Malon of the Gemara, that by Ishto also. Ishto is myself. Ishto Kagufo. When I talk about my wife, Palgin and Dibura. So it's the same idea. The Gemara thought the Ravid says that Ishto is like a Karov. So I'm speaking about a Karov, so then it's Pasal Eidus. I can't speak about a Karov. Throw out the whole Eidus. Kamashmal in the Gemara by Ploni Baal Ishti that you say Palgin and Dibura that you're a Baal Dover when it comes to your wife. So Shmuel Liefer asked me a very interesting question. He says, I don't understand. If Rashi holds, and we're saying, and what we suggested last week was, the source for the Ravid's concept that an aid means to speak about someone else, to be referring to other people, to be made ala chayrim, that's pshat, that's the definition of eidus. So at Shmuel Liefer, so Ploni Ravani Ler Onsi. So how does Rava accept that eidus? You're still the Balamaisa. You're still the one involved. You just happen to not be a Russia because it was onus, it was under duress. It was not my Maisa. But the question is, why should we even accept the eidus that Ploni was ma'anes you? You're the Balamaisa. So I think the answer is, I spoke to Rish Shechter about this also, he agreed that the answer is Ploni Ravani Laonsi, you're not a Balamaisa, you're an object. You're the facts about you is irrelevant. We're not trying to put a din Torah.
What was the Maisa?
The Maisa was that a person was Mishkav Zachar, a person was Roveya and raped another man. So there could be two ways that I introduce such a story. Either he did it willingly, Ploni Ravani Lertzoni, and then the Gemara says that's not simple. We can't accept half the story. We're going to have to introduce Palgin and Dibura. We're going to split half your words and say we'll believe you that Ploni was Rava, but that he was Roveya Yuler Tzoncha. We can't accept that because if that's true, so then you're a Apostle Eidus and you can't have testimony on this story. But the Rava says when it comes to Ploni Ravani Laonsi, there's no problem. So Shmuel asks, why? You're speaking about yourself. The answer is, even though I'm speaking about myself, but I'm not speaking about myself as a Balamaisa. I'm not speaking about myself as someone that has ramifications to the case. I'm speaking about myself as an object, so therefore I don't need to introduce Palgin and Dibura in the case where a person is raping another man. So let's get back to the Gemara and go backwards for a second. The bottom of Testament Beis. Amar Rav Yosef, Ploni Ravo Laonso. If I say a person slept with another man, Vahuva Achav Etzarvan Lahargo. If a person slept with myself, he raped me, and it was under duress, so then I and another witness could join together and could put him to death. Even though I'm talking about a case that happened to me. Lirtsono, if I say I had a relationship with this man and I did it willingly, then the Gemara says, Rashahu, V'atayra Amra al Tashes Rasha Aid. If you're correct, so the Torah says you're not accepted because you're a Rasha. And the Torah says, Al Tashis Rasha Eid. That's Rav Yosef. Comes along Rava and he introduced our sugya. Rava Amar Adam Karavetz Alatzmo Ve'en Adam Mesim Atzmo Rasha. So what we explain that to mean is, no, don't worry about what he said about himself. Palgina Dibura. We ignore the fact that he spoke about himself, L'Ritzono, and we'll accept his edus about Ploni Rava. Tosos wants to say Ploni Rava Acher. Ploni had a relationship with someone else. It wasn't with me. We do something with his words. Either we don't register his words in the first place about himself. That's the Ravid's approach. Or Tosfos says, no, we dress up his words. We cut and paste around his phraseology in order to somehow make it acceptable that he's not talking about himself. But bottom line, Rabbosai, what's the assumption? If it's L'Ritzono, we have serious problems. Either according to Rav Yosef, L'Ritzono, if a man slept with another man, I come into court and I say, this man had relations with me, and it was willingly. So Rav Yosef says, throw out the whole edus. He's not believed. Whereas Rava says, no, you can only do it if you introduce Palgina Dibura, because otherwise what? Otherwise you're saying something problematic. What? You're saying that you did something that would invalidate your testimony, make you into a Rasha, and if your testimony is accepted, so then, by definition, it's not going to work. Because in as much as we'll accept the entire statement, you become Pasal Eidus, you become invalid, and then you're not kosher. So this is an opportunity that Tosfos gives us to really understand some of the halachas and some of the details of what makes a person Pasal Eidus and what makes a person kosher Eidus. What violations, unfortunately, that this has come to be much more common than we'd like it, but that there's certain people that involve themselves in inappropriate behaviors, and sometimes it could possibly invalidate Eidus. That is the assumption of our Gemara. If you're involved in inappropriate behavior, you cannot be accepted to Eidus. L'Ritzono Rashahu, V'Torah Amra. If you're doing it willingly, Torah Amra al Tashes Rasha Eid. The Torah says a Rasha can't be a witness. Good?
Rav Yosef disagrees with that, you think?
I don't necessarily think Rav Yosef disagrees with that. I think Rav Yosef's the Machmir. Rav Yosef says, Avadi or Rasha. Rav Yosef says, I got no solutions for you. I can't accept this Eidus even if because I don't have the solution of Palgina Dibura. But I think Rav Yosef agrees fundamentally that a Rasha is a problem. What I have a problem is it's so clear that according to Rava, you would be a Rasha, as we'll see in a second. Yeah.
So just I'm struggling with the other scenario. So if Rav Ode also,
yeah.
he's still kasher Eidus.
Sure.
Because a person can
Sure.
be an Eid on himself.
So that's what we were saying. That was what Shmuel was saying. That
There's no time now, but it can't be an Eid.
it's not we've been speaking about you since the beginning. You happen to be a detail in the story. The car's driving on the road. The road's part of the story, but it's not really the psak that the Bezdin has to give. It's really irrelevant to the Bezdin because we're not trying to punish the guy who was raped. He happens to be a specific detail. So in terms of being a detail in the story and being the object that we're speaking about, so you can talk about yourself. When you're actually speaking about a din Torah and a psak against you, so then you're not neman to believe yourself. So that's the difference is. If I'm saying Ploni did a Maisa Avera, he was Mechal Shabbos with a certain plow or with a shovel. The shovel's a detail. So too over here. This person was involved in Mishkav Zachar and he raped a man. Who he raped, that's not pertinent to the Eidus.
It's different with somebody say, he stole from me and I'm not playing as an Eid. I'm just at a time.
So now you want to know. So now you're asking a very good question. You want to know because you now should be puzzled because you're taking revenge because you're a Nogeya B'davar.
The scenario is somebody stole from me. I'm going to Beit Din and say stole from me. So I'm not an Eid.
Right.
I have a taina.
Right.
Somebody.
See, in that case, in that case, in the Mammon, you have what to gain. That's what's called in halacha a Nogeya B'davar. Yeshli Nigiyut. I have what to gain from this. So I could fabricate the whole story because I want the money back.
So in here, what's his claim?
So here, I'm just saying over a story. This guy was Mechal Shabbos.
Who says it was the onus?
I do.
No. The guy is tiny. He raped me.
Right.
Owns it.
Yeah,
How do you know he's telling the truth?
I don't.
He's no gay.
That's the question that I have.
He's not a Nogei V'davar. He's not a Nogei V'davar because either way, it's not going to be accepted. Ploni Ravoni La'onsi will kill the guy. Okay, we're not going to touch you. Ploni Ravani L'Rtzoni will kill the guy, we're not going to touch you.
That's the din mavet? Somebody, a nas?
Yeah, sure. Mishkav Zachar, sure. Last week's parsha, sure.
Yeah.
Well, the question is the Gemara is assuming that, the Gemara is stating that he's accepted as an aid. So the question is,
Right, so that question is how? So either we're going to cut away from half of the statement, and we're just not allowing him to speak about his own Maisa Avera, or we don't even have to cut it away. It never registered as Eidos when you talk about yourself. That's the machlekes between the Ravid and the other Rishonim. How to understand the mechanics of Palgan and Dir. Huva Acher. In order for someone to kill, you need two Eidim. So the Chiddush is you're counted as one. Now get Yenim on the street that saw the story. So now the Gemara says. So the Gemara says L'Rtzono Rashahu. If he did it Baratzon, he's a Rasha. Some long Tosas, the second to last Tosas on Testament base. So this is very important. We got to skip to Chav Zayinim and Aleph.
The fact that tells you, using the other example that it's Lord Soda, tells you that we're not interested in who the subject, the victim was. We're interested in the fact that this guy was committed
The Roveya.
aggressor. Yeah.
The Roveya.
Yeah.
Because why?
We're not so sure about. I mean, the fact that we quote that the guy's going to be made. Also, if he did it consensually, tells you that the most important thing here is to convict the guy who took the.
But that's only through the mechanics of Palgin and Dibura. Meaning, Edis is Edis. We have to accept the mice of the way you present it.
This guy's going to give Adis in the fact that he had these relations.
Yeah, why is he doing it? He's a nut job. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. But Rav Yosef says he's mamish a nut job, but we mamish have nothing to do with his edus because we can't accept it because we don't have a palgin and dibura, and you just spread a bad rumor about you, but Bezdin can't respond to that because we have no mechanics to respond to it. Rav Yosef says we do have Rava says we do have a mechanics to respond to it. Ignore the fact of what he said, don't accept what he said, and only accept legabe ploni Rava. But why he did it initially? Appel. I don't know. Sometimes, people hit rock bottom, and it's like in the Goyish Welt also. I mean, we have it in Vidu and Yom Kippur, but people hit rock bottom, and the only way they can move on in life is if they just confess and they just say, "This is what I've been involved with my whole life." Ploni Ravani L'Rtzoni, and so now Bezdin, he's trying to start a life of tshuva, so. According to Rava, Baruch Hashem, Palgin Dibur, you saved your life, but he was trying to start new. So comes along the Gemara on Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, a very very important Gemara, probably one of the most.
Rava said he has to say La'onsa.
Right. Rava did not say he has to say La'onsa. Rava said even if he says, Rav Yosef says he has to say La'onsa. If Rava says, even if he says L'Rtzono, I have a tool to save it from Edis. But fundamentally, Rava needed a tool. What was the tool? Palgin and Dibura. If I wouldn't have the ability to somehow change his phraseology or somehow not accept half of his statement, like we explained in the past Chaburas, so then we'd be stuck with his Edis because he's Pasal Edis by saying that I'm Over L'Ratzon. Says Tosos, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. Why? Comes along Tosos and he says, if you look at the Gemara in Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, it's by the base of the Rambam. This is the famous Gemara Chav Zayin Amud Aleph. Don't forget this Gemara. Why? Because this is where Yal Kagam, the 6 times that we paskin like Abaye, these are 2 of the cases of Yal Kagam are in this Gemara. The first one is Amir Tzashem Gemara we'll talk about whenever we'll talk about it. Eid Zomim is a machlokes Abaye and Rava, also a fascinating machlokes. And the second one is the second psak of the Rambam, where it says the last word in the line is mummer. Mummer ochel nevelas. Now, so I'll let you all miss Abe because we're going to have the number lines when he's not here. Shever Fushlim. The Hilchasa is the first word of the line. Mummer ochel nevelas l'te'avon. You have a guy who eats cheeseburgers. He goes to McDonald's all the time. Why? Tastes good. Tastes good, or it's cheaper. Whatever it is. He eats nevelis. Why? Because it's cheaper. He has a te'avon. It's not. I'm not against Yiddishkeit. It's just it's hard to be from. Divrei akol pasal. Everyone holds he's pasal edus. He cannot give testimony in court. Very important. So what happens? Mumar ochel nevelis lahachis. What happens if he doesn't? No, he has a kosher burger in front of him and a nevela burger in front of him, and they're both equally as tasty. And what does this shmendrik do? He takes the treif. Lahachis. I can't stand the Rebbeinu Shalom. Then there's a machloikas between Abaye and Rava. Abaye Amar Pasal, Rava Amar Kosher. Rava says such an individual is kosher. What you would think the opposite, right? You would think it's better that, right? Usually in halacha we say amumar l'cheteyavon, and Nebuch has a Yetzer Hara, he has a mumar ochel hachis, Rasha Barushi, he has no taiva for this. Listen to what the Gemara says. Abaye Amar Pasal. Why does Abaye say this guy's Pasal? Davle Rasha. Did the guy do a lav? Did the guy do a loisase? And it's important, I'm just parenthetically, I'm telling you. And to be Pasal Edis, you have to violate a loisase sheyesh bo malchus. It's not enough to just speak Lashon Hara. You have to have a loisase sheyesh bo malchus. That, if there's lashes of as a punishment, then you're Pasal Edis sucked Abaye. What? who? מה? לא שמעתי, מה?
מי שאוכל לו כשר,
כן.
חפש בגדיו וזהו.
מה פתאום? חס ושלום. חלילה, כן. שלום מלכוס. כן. רחמנה אמר אל תשסר אשר ate. ורava אמר kosher. Rava says he ate nevelis, lahachis, he's kosher. Why? Rasha is not sufficient, says Rava. It's not sufficient just to be a person that violated a loisase that's going to get the lashes. Rasha dechamos ba'inan. You need a Rasha that's because of a chamsin, some sort of taiva. Does Rashi say anything here? Rasha dechamos. Some sort of desire. Meaning such a person, we're worried that he's going to give in because he has a taiva. So too, he can't control his yetzer. He's also going to testify falsely if he gets the right check and he gets the right payment. And that's an aid sheker. So not everyone who violates every lois hasei Rava, even though Rava's not going to give him shlishi on Shabbos. He's not a Rasha, he's a Rasha. He's going to get Malkus, Zokt Rava. But for Psul Eidos, you have to, if I would suggest to say right now, you need a chshash meshaker. You need someone who's going to give into his Yetzer Hara, who can't control his taivas, and who's going to get that fat paycheck, and that's what's going to cause him to lie. Rabbi Isai, who's our Bala Memra in the Gemara of Palgin and Dibura? Rava. What did Rava say? Were it not for me to have the solution of Palgin and Dibura, Ploni Ravani Lirtzoni, this guy is what? Pasal Eidus. Says Taisus, not true. It's wrong. Rava holds you're still kosher Eidus. The Afal Gav, now Toisus understand, we say Toisus. Afal Gav the Rava boy Rasha the Chamas Beperik Zaborer. Even though Rava holds what? That in order to be Pasal Eidus, you can't just be a person that violates a Losase. You have to be a certain type of Losase. A Losase that's what? That's a Rasha the Chamas. High Kamor. So says Toisus, you know what the solution is? This guy that's giving into his Yetzer Hara to be involved with what? Inappropriate behavior. To be involved with Mishkav Zachar. Hi, Kamo Rasha the Chamas. He can't control his Yetzer Hara for money. He can't control his Yetzer Hara for Ravia Zachar. And look what he did. And he gave in Liratzon, Ploni Ravani Lirtzoni. And that's Rava. It's consistent. Rava Lishitoso. Even Rava agrees that when it comes to Mishkav Zachar, when it comes to these inappropriate behaviors, that's also Rasha the Chamas. Even though Rava is the one who says eating a cheeseburger just to tick off HaKadosh Baruch Hu would not be Pasal Eidus. Not every Losase, but a situation where you're giving into your Yetzer Hara, where there's a taiva for that, that's a Rasha the Chamas. And just like Rava said, a person will give into his Yetzer Hara in order to have a nice Geshmaka cheeseburger, l'te'avon. He'll also give in order to be involved in Mishkav Zachar. And all these were choshesh that he's going to be a Rasha the Chamas to testify falsely. Kevin sha'over lahana also al das kono. Since He has the Rebbeinu Shalom's tzivoy, the Borei Olam, his creator's tzivoy, and he gives in to his hana over his tzivoy. So then Rava agrees that invalidates for edus. Anyone who takes pleasure over the tzivoy of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that passes for edus. Kimo kein haya. So listen to what he says. Kimo kein haya oise b'shvil hanas mamo. So just like he goes against the Rebbeinu Shalom to give in to Mishkav Zocher. Just like he gives into the goes against the Rebbeinu Shalom to eat nevelis l'tei avon, and more important to him is his taiva. So too, he's going to forget the Rebbeinu Shalom's Eidah Sheker, and he's going to forget the Aseres Hadibros, and he's going to say, "Let me go and be made Sheker in order to get some money and get bribed for false testimony."
I thought the story was just okay.
That what? Someone
has a tei avon. You can say he has a taiva for this.
Right. That's what I was saying. That's what.
Someone who does
Lahachis will be worse. Right. No, so in every other halacha, you're 100% right. And that's what I was saying when I read the Gemara. In every other halacha, if you have a din of a mumur lahachis, so that's a shayla of a min. That's a person, he writes kisvei HaKodesh, it could be we have to burn it. He's a heretic. He's not even, he loses Kedushas Yisrael. He's no shaychus to Am Yisrael. He's anti the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's true. But here, we're not judging the scale of how from he is. We're judging his bottom line. Rava says, is this guy going to lie or not? Is this guy going to give false testimony? That's got to be taiva based. You're right. It's not chomer avera. Mumar ochel averas lahachas, and that's the irony of Rava. It could be that it's a worser avera. But Rava says, I don't care about averas when it comes to psula edus. That's not what I'm interested in. Because if I cared about averas, then I would be in Abaye's camp. Abaye says in order to be pasul edus, all you have to do is a rasha. That means, did you violate an avera that has malchus? Now, figure it out when you call up the next aid at your wedding. Did this guy violate an avera sheish bo malchus? That's what you have to figure out. That's the simin lamed daled and chosh mishpat, all psula edus. Rava says that's not what it's about. It's not about averas. It's about a chash mishaker. It's only malchus. Only malchus. No. Not. Obviously, Misa and Karetz, but minimally, it has to be Malchus. Yeah, if it doesn't have Malchus, then it's a Shaila in the poskim. What if it didn't have Malchus because of a technicality? It's a lav hanitak la'ese, or it's But if it's a weaker lav, so then that's not something that's going to fit the bill. Yeah.
What does Rava do when he passes Atoshes?
Russia aid. That's what he says. Russia the Chamas. That's what he says. Al Tashis Russia aid. That's what the Gemara Chav Zayin says. Al Tashis Russia aid. Not every Russia. Russia the Chamas. That's what the Torah meant. That's the Abaye and Rava's machlekes. So Taisus is forced to say this person that gives into this inappropriate behavior, this mishkav zacher, he must be considered a Russia the Chamas. Toso says, but this is not so clear. V'hadamar hasam daf chavavam abeis rabosai, a Gemara that's going to be so relevant la'alacha. Unfortunately, the Gemara in Chavavam Beis says as follows. It's in the wide lines. The first word on the line. It's about, I would have to guess, 15 lines down. Mevaze nafshe. Is that right? Right by the Zayin of the Rambam of the Source Hashat. 11 lines down. Towards the end of the line, Amar Rav Nachman. Listen to this Gemara. Very relevant la'alacha. Amar Rav Nachman. HaChoshid al ha'arayos kosher le'edus. A person is choshid al ha'arayos. He's kosher le'edus. Amar Rav Sheshes. Sheshes says, how could it be? Ani mare arbon bekatfe vikosher. This guy is going to get arbon bekatfe. What does that mean? Arbon bekatfe is going to get lashes. Arbon malchus yakenu, not arbon, but he's coming off the lashon of the pasuk. And you're going to call this guy kosher. This guy's kosher al arayis. He's going to get malchus for this behavior. So the Gemara, so that's the machlekes Rava and Rav Nachman. And then the Gemara just says, Amar Rava u'moder Rav Nachman linyan edus isha. And Rav Nachman is moide for edus isha, which means what? In yanim of arayus. Even Rav Nachman is going to say, come on, edus isha. This guy is chasher al arayus. I'm going to let him testify about whether or not he's still married to this woman or that. This guy probably fell in love with this woman and he's going to want to testify falsely about this. That I'm not going to give him. But if he's just chashad al arayas for speaking about a case of dinim amanis, he's kasher le'edis. It's kasher le'edis. So what's Taisa's question? V'hada amar hasam hachashad al arayas kasher le'edis. What's the question, Rabbosai? What just happened to my whole theory, Tosa says? I just said a theory that not only l'te'av and yetzer hara about a cheeseburger, not only about mumminus, but any taiva dikazach, according to Rava, is going to be pasal le'edis. And that's also Rosh Hashanah. And that's why Rava says, Ploner Ravani Lertzoni is pasal. So too what? A person who's chashad al arayis should also be pasal le'edis. So what's the Gemara saying? Why is he kashal le'edis according to Rav Sheshes? So listen to what Rashi says on that Gemara. Rashi actually says, Rav Nachman kashal le'edis. Look at what Rashi on Chavav and Beis says. Kashal le'edis. It's like one of the last. It's like the skinny lines, 5 lines up from the skinny lines, from the before the wide lines in the Rashis. Kashal le'edis dibainan rasha dechamas. Rashi says, yeah, exactly. Rav Sheshes holds that you need Rasha Dechamas. Sounds like who? Sounds like Rava. So this is killing Tosas Pshat. Tosas is saying now, what's the definition according to Rava Rasha Dechamas? It's not only about mumminess, it's not only about giving into the fat checks, but it's anything that's going to be Yetzer Haradik, it's anything that's going to be like Arayos Mishkav Zachar. That's how Tosas Pshat gets off the ground in the Gemara in Sanhedrin Tes Beis. So how can you say a chashad al arayis kashal le'edis isha? It's not Rasha Dechamas. Rava wouldn't agree according to Rashi's Pshat. Oh, beautiful. Says Taisus, what does the word chashad mean? It's a very interesting language, chashad. Chashad sounds like it's not the real deal. Suspect. Says Tosos, you misunderstood the whole Gemara. Hadamar hasam achosha arayos kashal le'edis. Perish bekuntris. Lav de'ika sadeh shebo al ha'erve. It's not that 2 Eidim walked in and said, Ploni was, with this woman, or Ploni was, unfortunately, involved with these cases. I don't have to fill in the details, unfortunately. We all know the cases. Elishu gas be'arayis. You know what? He's found in inappropriate settings. He's pressed. And he's not makbid on the Isser Yichud. And he's with a lot of women. So that's exactly what the Gemara meant. A choshed al arayis. Not a over al ha'erva. Not a boelis ha'erva. Not someone who we have mamish edus. That it's going to be what? That it's going to be that he did an avera. If it was just what? So look in Shulchan Aruch. This is very relevant, Rabbosai. This is very relevant. I was talking about this week with last week. Sorry, at a conference. Something came up. There are certain times that we don't have edus about it, but women come in, and women start testifying and saying things about. She's not a kosher aid, but she creates a kol. She creates a voice. She creates a kol. So are these Rabbanim now pasal le'edis? Are these people, or not Rabbanim, whoever's involved, unfortunately it's everyone, do they become pasal le'edis? They're not sadi on them that they were bol and erva, but are they so the Gemara says, according to Rav Sheshes, they're kosher. According to Rav Nachman, they're kosher. According to Rav Sheshes, what does Rav Sheshes say? They get malchus. How do they get malchus? If it's only choshed, like you said, so what does malchus mean? Arban bekasve, you don't get malchus if it's just a kol, if it's just a rumor, if it's just a reputation. So that's what Tosas is bothered by. So Tosas says, but the Gemara itself rejects my pshat of choshed al arayos because the Gemara is saying he gets malchus for this. Haini mishum, yeah. That's not because of malchus me'ikar adin. It's not midoraisa. Certain times, the Bezdin goes out on its way, Malchus derabanan, the Malkin ala yichud kol arayis, chutz me'esheshis, the Malkin alotova hashmua. Sometimes you give Malchus because a person puts himself in a bad situation, and there's rumors about him, and there's a reputation going out there about him, and we're going to even give him lashes midrabanan because of that lotova hashmua. That's what Tosfos is forced in to explain in the Gemara. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Either you're going to have to explain away chashed al arayos, or you're going to have to explain away what? Malchus. Either one of them is mashma, not mashma like the other. So which one is it? Inami, hasam kosher. So now Tosfos says no. I have a different pshat in that Gemara. And this is very relevant because there's a major machlokes between the Balamor and the Rif in this Gemara on Daf Chaf Amud Beis. What is the case of chashed al arayos? Again, if you hold like the way Tosfos just presented, so there's a debate between Rav Sheshis and Rav Nachman. If there's just a rumor, or just even without edus to invalidate the guy, we're already going to, according to Rav Sheshis, we're going to be machshem. According to Rav Nachman, we're going to be machshem. According to Rav Sheshis, not. And for edus isha, meaning all in yonei gerushin and kiddushin, he'll be puzzled even according to Rav Nachman. So now we have to pay attention even to rumors. And by the way, that's the way we paskin in Shulchan Aruch. Person has a bad reputation in this world with other women or arayos type things or yichud, he cannot be made in the concept of in the context of ishus, because that's what even Rav Nachman he agrees to him as. But if you hold the other pshat in that Gemara that we presented, that it means what? It means erva mamish. It means this guy was bol arayos, and the debate in the Gemara, even if there were edim on the bililas arayos, is he kosher or puzzle? So now what? Then we could ignore any time that there are rumors. Then in a situation where it's just lotova shmua, or it's just women that come in and tell us this guy was involved in all these things with all these different women, according to those Rishonim, they wouldn't necessarily even become pasul le'edus, even necessarily le'edus isha, because we don't have edus to invalidate them. So that pshat in the Gemara, the question of what Tosfos is going to do with that Gemara, which happens to be a machlokas Rishonim, how to explain that Gemara, is going to have ramifications in how to analyze this Gemara. So now Tosfos says, look what Tosfos says. Inami meaning what? A different pshat in that Gemara. I'm going to go for the other approach of that Gemara. Not like I suggested originally, that Gemara is talking about a reputation. I'm going to go with the approach. There are Edim that saw this guy bol and erva. And what? Rav Nachman says he's kosher le'edus. How can he be kosher le'edus? If that's the case, Tosfos says, I just killed my pshat in this Gemara. Rava just told me that a rovea zacher, mishkav zacher, lirtzono is pasul le'edus. Inappropriate behavior invalidates for edus. And now I'm telling you that there's a Gemara on Daf Chavav. I'm rejecting my first pshat, says Tosfos, that it's just a rumor. It's just coming from sources that are not accepted in the world of Bezdin. But it's rather Edim came in and saw him bol and erva, and yet Rav Nachman's going to turn around and say he's kosher le'edus. That's going to slaughter my pshat in this Gemara. Says Tosfos, yes. Wow. Listen to Tosfos. Inami hosam kosher mishum di yitzro tokfo kol kach v'choshev ka'onos aval revia ein yitzro tokfo kol kach. Says Tosfos, I have a different pshat. You know what the distinction is? Our Gemara is specifically talking about mishkav zocher. I don't care what you want to say, says Tosfos, psychologically, not psychologically. Tosfos says the yetzer is much stronger for a man who has taivas for a woman than for a man with a man. That's what Tosfos says in the second day. Fascinating Tosfos, relevant to a lot of debates bisman hazeh. Tosfos says the yetzer hara for mishkav zacher is not as much of an ones as the yetzer hara for sleeping with a woman.
The person is a gay and he has a yetzer hara.
That's what Tosfos says. It's not as yitzro tokfo. What is the ramifications for that, says Tosfos? According to Rava, who says you need a Rasha de Chamas, which means you need a Rasha to be pasul le'edus, because you need a big yetzer hara, a massive yetzer hara. I'm not saying that there is no yetzer hara. That's not what Tosfos is saying. But Tosfos is saying it's not as much. And for one, you're considered in onus. You're not going to be pasul le'edus. I couldn't control myself with that woman, and therefore, even though you have edim that I slept with that erva, with that nida, whatever it is, I'm still kosher le'edus, because overcoming that yetzer hara is totally insurmountable. It's unbelievable. But for mishkav zacher, that's not as much of a yitzro tokfo. and therefore it's a Rosh Hashanah. He's not considered an Anas. And this guy gave in to his Hana. He has a Yetzer. He gave in to his Hana, and he could have controlled it much easier than in the other case. Rava says when it comes to Mishkav Zocher, he's Pasul. When it comes to Mishkav Isha, he's still kosher. Unbelievable.
He said, it's not how he paskin, it's not his head.
So we happen to paskin like Abai. This whole.
Paskin like about what happens to the safeguards that we're so careful about when it comes to Dinei Mamonos.
What do you mean?
You can't just throw somebody's reputation away without having real Eidim when it comes to Dinei Mamonos.
Right. So I'm saying, according to Abai, unless you have Edus.
I'm saying, why is this Dinei Erva different than a case
Oh, you're saying you want to know.
We are very careful. If I came and I said Rabbi Belazan stole $1,000
We're not going to
I
accept
can't
it. Right,
just say
right,
that.
right.
But
You're asking. You're asking the following. You're asking why.
Like the second
Why is there even a? Why is there even a?
Psychologically, I don't know if it's
Right,
true, but at
right,
least there's
right,
an answer to the
right.
question.
But you're saying why is there even a discussion on Chavavim Beis? If you take the approach of Choshed al Arayis to mean rumors, like the first pshat in that Gemara, so rumors are rumors. You're saying. So why, if the world in Dinei Mamonos, I'm not going to accept rumors. That's your question.
That is the question, but
Right.
I'm not saying it from the perspective that it necessarily bothers me that a rumor should ruin somebody's life. It bothers me that we care about that.
It's
only when it
inconsistent.
comes-
It's
right.
inconsistent.
Because Yishlo Tovat Ana. He said it before when I asked, right?
No, but he's asking if it doesn't fit the bill to invalidate, and it's not halachic evidence in all of Kol HaTorah Kula, so let's play devil's advocate. So even if we happen to paskin like Rav Nachman, and he's still kosher, but why is there even a shita out there like Rav Sheshes that says...
Unless Rav Sheshes would hold differently when it comes to Dinei Mamonos, but
I don't think so.
There isn't,
No,
right?
no. Meaning this isn't even a Abai and Rava. This is not even a Russia. You have no proof against me. I can still exist. So you say just because...
The question that is raised is, why is this person kosher la'etz?
Right.
And all that Rav is saying is that if he might be,
no. You say you can give a guy Malchus because somebody raised a rumor against him.
well,
Also, that question I can deal with. That question, Bezdin certain times has to get societally involved, and he gives Malchus the Rabbanan. But the question that I'm having trouble with, which I agree with you, is you have to be consistent. Either you accept halachic evidence, you don't accept halachic evidence.
all Rav is saying,
No, not Rava. He's asking on the Gemara. He's asking on Rav Sheshes. Rav Sheshes, who holds in the Gemara that even from on the extreme version, that even from a rumor that we would give Malchus, Arba'in Mekatve v'kosher, how could you be machshir this guy? So John wants to argue back to Rav Sheshes, how could you passel this guy? You have no Aiden. You have no Aiden. A rumor's not going to do anything.
What happened if you catch him?
No.
Yichud. No. So
If I catch him in Yichud.
So we catch him in Yichud.
What?
So you don't know.
Okay.
No, not even rumor. I'm saying you have.
But I
two
can't,
endings.
halachically, I can't do anything to this guy.
No, but if you can.
it's a rumor.
No, but it's not a rumor. I'm
Let's
telling
say
you.
there are two witnesses.
I know, I'm not wrong.
Let's say this
Yichud.
guy is
Right.
acting inappropriate.
Right.
not
So
acting.
bottom line, the answer to John's question is bottom line, however you slice it, is that the Torah put different guidelines when it came to arayos.
I mean, it has to be because
Yeah.
of the fact that they're even if the guy didn't actually do it,
Right.
and he was seen by someone,
Exactly.
it's okay,
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
it's okay.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's okay for the fact that the guy
Exactly.
didn't do it.
Exactly. And even though we don't have, this is halacha l'maisa. I mean, I can't get into too many details right now, but you know what? Afterwards, but you know, this is gonna invalidate Eidim. This is gonna invalidate Dayanim. This is gonna, and not necessarily do we have, and especially in the world of Eidus Isha, you know, we don't necessarily have Eidim that can testify for it. We might be limited in that area. Yeah.
I didn't see the Tosis.
Yeah.
When I said question, I hate to be a psychologist.
Right.
But there's one thing to do in a favor, and there's another, and that you can make kind of like I don't care or
Right.
forced to, but hang around.
You're saying that there's a difference in a lifestyle and
doing
right.
things that you know
Right. Right. Right.
That's an issue of time.
Right. Right.
That's an
Right.
issue of time, and that's all that rumors
Right.
are.
Right, but
Which is
bottom,
fine,
but bottom
except
line,
the reason
but
that we're nervous in a case of
Right.
Dine Mumminus is because there could be a false rumor.
right,
It's not just that
right.
it's just a rumor, but he was still doing it.
No, but let's say
I'm not-
let.
But I'm saying, but who said that this is just a rumor that, you know,
Let's say let me ask.
It is, matter that it could
Let's say you have a Bernie Madoff. Let's say you have a Bernie Madoff.
be, but you don't have to.
who said that? Who said that?
Let's say you have a Bernie Madoff who scammed everyone, and it happened to every single case. This guy's living this life like this. We don't have any Eidim that could watch that saw him do it. I mean, we're not going to make the same claim as Choshed al Arayis.
Bias, we're saying
Right.
that this guy
Right.
is acting in an
Right.
inappropriate way, and we do have evidence.
But you don't need evidence.
How do you know that?
Because that's what Tosfos said.
That's right.
You don't need evidence.
Where does it say that?
He says, even though I don't have Eidos on any
It's
Aran.
on the Aveira, but we do have Adis that this guy is acting in a.
But
bad
that's-
way.
but-
He's a Russian.
But that's the same question. That's not either from that.
He actually did it and they saw it.
Tosfos says, all Tosfos says,
If he did it,
all Tosfos says,
he's not.
Tosfos doesn't, Tosfos says we have no Eidos. Tosfos says this guy is gas ba'arayis. He's hanging out with them. Tosfos doesn't say anything about Eidim. You're saying we know that as Eidim.
But it doesn't
Right.
even matter if the Adis is just on the fact that he is suspect.
That's not even. That's not even.
No, first of all, that's not Adis. But second of all, even if Tosfos redefines Adis to say that you just need Adis that he's suspect, we still, in other areas of halacha, won't allow.
It's not enough, bro.
Right.
Right. So bottom line, there's going to be something about this Avera and about this lifestyle, which I think everyone's in agreement, that's there's a much more sensitivity in halacha.
So I'm trying to understand what Tosfos is saying. Tosfos is basically saying it depends on your level to fight the Yetzer.
Yes.
That's basically what Tosfos is saying.
Meaning
that if you have something.
I have
that
two
is-
guys. Tosfos is now saying
Yeah.
both Gemaras are talking about Mishkav.
Yes.
One's Mishkav Zachar,
Yeah.
and one is Mishkav Isha.
Yeah.
And they're both Arayas.
Yeah.
Tosfos says in one of them you're a Rosh Hashanah, and in one of them you're not Rosh Hashanah. Why am I Rosh Hashanah in one of them?
the level
Tosfos
of-
says
yeah.
because in one of them I could have controlled my Yetzer,
Yeah.
and the other one I just can't control. When it comes to the Taiva of an Erva, you're not a Rosh Hashanah. Yitzro Tokfo, his Yetzer Hara took over him. When it came to Mishav Zachar, even Rava calls you a Mishkav, calls you Yitzro Tokfo, calls you an Rosh
you
Hashanah.
could afford it.
Why? Because you could afford it. Not that you're not a Rosh Hashanah. Chalil v'chas, to say, Rava's agreeing, Mishkav Zachar, and those challenges are still Yetzer Hara. And they're still challenging, but Rava's saying a chiddush according to one day in Tosfos that one of them's more controllable than the
And
other.
then if then,
This Tosfos existed thousands of years ago. Yeah.
and then basically it says that's the reason that I cannot resist then to give an
That's why
full
Rava
edit.
says Mishkav Zachar Ploni Ravani Lertzoni is Pasal Edis. Were it not for me to introduce
Because
Palgin and
I think
Dibura,
because-
that would have been Pasal according to Rava's standards.
Because
Rosh
my
Hashanah.
level of fighting is low,
Right.
and I can
Right.
then do
Because
other
you're not
stuff, yeah.
considered an onus.
Yeah.
You're not considered an onus. Yeah. Inami hachanami yitzro tokfo the kosher le'edas acheres v'lo arevia the kosher al adavar lo donav lo meido. So now Taisus knows about the debate b'zman hazeh. So Taisus knows he can't end there. He has to give another answer. So what's his other answer? Again, both Gemaras are talking about Mishkav. Both Gemaras are talking about the real McCoy. Mishkav Zachar versus Mishkav Isha. So the first day in Taisus wanted to say psychologically there are different challenges. Second day in Taisus says that's not gonna sell to everyone b'zman hazeh. So I got to come up with another teretz. So it says Taisus, I'll tell you what the difference is. Over there, when it said what kosher le'edus, it's kosher le'edus isha, kosher le'edus acheres, velo aravia, the kosher al adavar lo donav lo mi'ido, which means what? That even though you're kosher in certain adius, means I could testify in other testimonies that have nothing to do with the avera that I am not successful in, like mumminus. I'm not Pasal Eidus. So the Gemara was talking about, in the third parak, Gemara was talking about, is this guy who's now Chashad al Rayos, which means the real McCoy. He's sleeping with Erevas and we have Eidus about it. He is not invalid in totality. He could be made on things that have no shaykhs to Arayos, like Dinei Mamanis, but Be'oso Dover, in the area of Mishkav, in the area of Revia, Lo Danov Lo Meido. On that he lost his Ne'emonis. This is very nafkamina in the world of kashrus. If a person doesn't have Ne'emonis in that area, if a person doesn't keep kashrus, so that's what the Shulchan Aruch writes, so then he has no ability to be made in the world of kashrus. Because even if we're not going to invalidate him for all edus, but what? But also davar, he's known to be a chashud because he doesn't keep it himself. So therefore, Taisus wants to say that's the answer to the contradiction of our Gemara. Over here, the Gemara is saying what? Ploni Ravani Lertzoni, and what Rava says, you're Pasal Edus. Ask Tosas, how could Rava say over here, you're Pasal Edus, and the Gemara over there say, Berevia, you're Kashal Edus? Says Tosas, it depends what category of halacha you're talking about, and you're accepting his testimony for. For the area of Revia, which is right here in my story, Avadam Pasal. Because I talked to you about Revia, and I was involved in Revia, so I can't give testimony about Revia. So here, Rava says, without plugin and dibura, you would have been Pasal Eidus. If I can't split away his words, he's Pasal Eidus. Mashenkin over there, the Gemara was talking about collectively, in all areas of halacha. Can we accept him for other areas? So Taisa says, a person who's Roveya is not Pasal Eidus. He's not a Rasha Dechamas that's going to be invalid. He's just not accepted in that area, and that's the contradiction. Nothing to do with the distinction between Mishkav Zachar, nothing to do with Mishkav Isha, nothing to do with the distinction whether or not you actually slept with a woman or not. Even if you actually slept with a woman, even if you actually slept with a man, depends what we're accepting your Eidus for this or for something else. Mirza Hashem will pick up with this next. The Gemara Chav Zayin was talking about for other Eidus.
Generally speaking.
Chav Zayin, Mummer?
Not Chava.
Yeah.
Chav Zayin.
What do you mean? Rava says to be a Mummer, you have to be Rosh Hashanah. And Tosas is saying this is not a Rosh Hashanah. What? Yeah, it's not a Rosh Hashanah. Neveil L'Teyavad is a Rosh Hashanah. But giving into the Yetzer, again, Tosas says, what's Tosas' first kasha? Tosas' first kasha is Ploni Rovani Lertzoni is Pasal Eidus according to Rava. Why? You're not a Rosh Hashanah. You're not giving into Chimud Mammon. There's nothing about Mominus over here, and you're not paying for a cheaper burger to make it over here. It's about the Yetzer Hara for Arayos. So Tosos went on a whole assumption that he says Yetzer Hara for Arayos is also bad. Yetzer Hara for Arayos is also a Rasha Dechamas. Now Tosos says maybe my whole premise is wrong. Maybe Mumar Elchel Nevelis L'Te'avon is only Mumar Elchel Nevelis L'Te'avon. Maybe a Rasha Dechamas is only a Gazlan, someone who steals. You want to add in Arayos to Psul Rasha? Says Tosas in the third day. Rava never passed Arayos, someone who's involved in inappropriate behavior. Even if he's involved in the worst inappropriate behavior. He's Kashal Eidus. Just what? In our sugya, he can't talk about Oso Dover. That he lost his Nemanos. Not because he's invalid, not because he's a Pasal Eid, but because he can't talk in that context. Yeah.
We don't hold like that.
What?
We don't hold like that now.
We don't hold like any of this because we hold like Abaye that you don't even need a Rasha Dechamas. So that's why all of this is just, but we have to understand that all this is relevant within the world of Rava, and there will be nafkaminas of Rasha Dechamas and Lav Rasha Dechamas. I wanted to talk about this. We're running out of time, but I'll just speak about it next week. We hold like Abaye. Anytime you're over an Isser Malchus, anytime you're over a Lav, you're already puzzled, like the first opinion in the Gemara, and that's why it's a famous Gemara, because it's one of the Al-Kagams. One of the 6 cases we pass like Abaye over Rava is that Gemara. So what does it make a difference? What's a Rasha Dechamas? What's not a Rasha Dechamas? Who cares? Any Rasha that validates Malchus. So the answer is, it makes a big difference. A lot of times, you're stuck with the situation, you have to give testimony about if a woman's husband is still alive. Iguna. So the criteria for Eidus Isha is not as high for Iguna, and we're Mekel, Mishum Iguna, Ikilu Berabana. And we accept a lot of the Psule Eidus. A lot of the Psule Eidus we do accept. Just we don't accept what? A person who has a Chash Meshakir. A person who's just not believed. He lives a life of lying. And the Gemara says, Yivamis and Daf Chafei, he's a Gazlan. He's a Gazlan, he's a Rasha Dechamas. So now, we have to discuss the following issue. Even though we don't pass him like Rava, this is all going to make a big difference for Iguna. Because if you're going to be a Rasha de Chamas, you won't be accepted for Iguna. If you're going to be a Rasha de Lav de Chamas, you will be accepted. So now we have to decipher, well, what is the nature of all these other psulim? What about a chayal in the army who knows about a husband who was killed? Is he accepted? Is it a gazlan? Is it not a gazlan? Even in the areas of where we don't, where we're, even in the, Rava is going to come back alive in the areas of Isha, and Mitzvah, we'll talk about this next week.